Come on in, pull up a chair and take a load off because today I am going to review and page through Monsters of the Underworld from Cawood Publishing. So is this a collection of dastardly monsters and creepy creatures that'll be a perfect addition to your 5e fantasy adventuring? Or should this book just be buried? Well, you'll find out right after this. Howdy, 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 gang. Yes, I'm Jeff McAleer, back once again as your host here at the Gaming Gang channel. As I mentioned in the open, I am going to pace through and review Monsters of the Underworld. But first, let me point out, if you like the video, by all means, please give it a thumbs up. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't. And if you do subscribe, don't forget, ring that notification bell, because it will not only let you know when I upload standalone videos such as this, it'll also tell you when my live stream, The Daily Dope, airs right here on YouTube Monday through Thursday nights. So I recently reviewed Monsters of Feyland from Cawood Publishing. Now, Monsters of the Underworld is their follow-up. This is their second monster book, which I do believe came out after Monsters of Feyland. But Monsters of the Underworld, as mentioned, is from Cawood Publishing. It's written by Andrew Cawood with artwork provided by Travis Hansen. This 128-page hardcover is available for $35.95, or you can snag the PDF from DriveThruRPG for $13.95. So without further ado, let's swing on over to the other camera and start diving into Monsters of the Underworld. Here we've got Monsters of the Underworld. 110 monsters for 5th edition Dungeons & Dragons. This is from Cawood Publishing. So they were kind enough to send me a copy of Monsters of the Underworld as well as Monsters of the Feyland. And I've got separate videos for both of these. So we're taking a look at the Monsters of the Underworld book today. So this is a hardcover book, really nicely put together. I like the art style. I know some people will probably want, they tend to want more of a photorealistic art style to their monster books. But personally, I thought this is very, very cool. I appreciate the fact that the artwork is all of a pretty standardized vibe throughout. It's not a big hodgepodge of different art styles. So I appreciate that quite a bit. And there's a lot going on in this book. We've got some adventure hooks. We've got a little bit of Game Master advice to start off with. We get a little discussion of the Underworld. So it isn't just, boom, we're right into the bestiary or bestiary, however you want to pronounce it. That said, the majority of this book, the vast majority of this book, is dedicated to the various different monsters and creatures and cultures and races in the underworld. I'm going to kind of page through this so you can get a good look at what's inside the book, what kind of monsters and creatures are included here. As you'll see, we have pretty much our stat block. We've got some key points about whatever the creature is. So for an example, this is the demon frog. Different actions that it can take, and you'll get a bit of information about the monster and kind of some aspects about what makes this stand out. What is this essentially known for? So the demon frog is an awful amphibian. It's a fiery frog and a horned horror. And then we get a bit of information about that as well. Of course, then we get the actions, talking about whatever kind of attacks it gets, what magics it might use, what kind of special attacks it might have as well. I will mention that these days we tend to see Many of the monster books out there have, multiple pages devoted to a creature, and I dig that. I like that. I tend to be an old school type uh, game master when it comes to fantasy role playing games. I like to be able to just see some key points that I need to know at the game table to utilize the information at the game table. One of the problems that we do see with more modern approaches to role playing games is kind of the failed novelist approach where everything is so padded out with backstory, which is cool, but it also has really no effect on what's going on at the game table, usually. So we've got all of these different monsters available to us. I appreciate the fact that it's kind of bite-sized nuggets that I can easily comprehend and digest while I'm running a game at the table. It's very, very important. And I think sometimes gamers out there who don't have a lot of experience running a role playing game, especially a fantasy role playing game, they don't understand how important it is to be able to quickly access information while you're running the game. Yes, it's cool to have all the backstory and all the history about some dungeon, but the reality is it's not player facing. The players aren't going to discover most of that information. So I kind of look at it as what's going to make it easy for me to run at the table. And I really, really do like the approach that Cawood Publishing has taken with both the Underworld and the Feyland monster books. As you can see, very cool artwork. To me, it's lively artwork, and it does have kind of an old school Renaissance vibe to it. So does the fact that we don't get overwhelmed with information about each of these creatures. Also kind of has an old school vibe to it. I'm sure there are going to be people out there who will be disappointed that there isn't, pages of information about the Gloom Shroom. But me personally, I found this to be very useful. I would have a blast running games with some of these particular creatures. Even though it does mention that it has 110 new creatures for 5th edition, gotta be honest. I mean, there are some things that we're running across that not necessarily are they exactly the same, but so for an example, we've got like the Minotaur King, we have the Lich King, we have a Werewolf Lord. So variations on some of the creatures from the Monster Manual. But that said, there is a lot of new stuff in here. The Monster Hunter. It's the Nightmare Bear. Just kind of flipping on through here to show off everything that's in the book. Got a few different new entries for orcs. It's the Rumbledum. Shadow Knight, Shadow Lord, Shadow Spider. I'm a spore farmer, a toadstool fool. That would probably be me in the Underworld. Some different trolls. The Undervoid. Got a drow vampire. Giant zombie. So we have the intelligent creatures and monsters, and then we have a beast section. So we've got a few new beasts. It's the Echo Gecko. And then we're going to wrap up with a monsters by challenge level and type. Got a locations tables, an events table, talking about the different races. Some player character subclasses. We get some adventure maps that are available to you as well. And then we get our open game license at the end. So all in all, about 126 pages of gameable material in the Monsters of the Underworld hardcover book. So let's swing on over to the other camera. I will share my final thoughts and give Monsters of the Underworld a review score. So what do I think of Monsters of the Underworld? Well, you've watched this far, so I think you probably already understand that I do like this book. I think this is a very well-produced product that's out there for fantasy role-playing games. It does not have to be 5e. In fact, I gotta say, I do like Monsters of the Underworld a little bit more than Monsters of Feyland. And part of it is because there's the inclusion of a random events table, random encounters table. So I like that fact. We also have a couple of dungeon maps that are tossed in there as well. So I thought that was pretty sweet. So all in all, I do dig those little extra touches. Once again, just like the previous book, I dig the fact that the artwork is all uniform. And I know some people aren't going to dig the kind of cartoonish style to the artwork, but I like it. Plus, to me, it almost has a kind of an old school Renaissance flavor to it as well. As with the previous book, these are all nice bite-sized nuggets as far as the creatures. There's not page after page after page about one specific monster that is going to make it much more difficult to utilize that at your gaming table. That said, there are a few entries that I would have liked to have seen fleshed out a little bit more, maybe gotten another page, but all in all, it's fine. It's not a big issue. I think I have to say I like the fact that all of these creatures are very usable at the game table because they only do take up one page. I think that outweighs the fact that there are a few entries that I would have liked to have seen a little bit more information. All in all, I think this is an excellent supplement, especially if you're doing any sort of fantasy role-playing games which are set in an underworld with drow and dark dwarves or anything like that. I think this is an excellent addition to any game master's toolbox, really. So on a scale of 1 to 10, I definitely give Monsters of the Underworld a very solid 8.9 out of 10. As I mentioned before, the 128-page hardcover can be had for $35.95, or you can grab the PDF from DriveThruRPG for $13.95. As I like to point out, whenever I talk about DriveThruRPG, the Gaming Gang is affiliated with any of the One Bookshelf sites. So if you are going to swing over to DriveThruRPG, please visit thegaminggang.com first, click on one of our banner ads, and that way, if you do happen to make a purchase, I get a little piece of that sale. And it all adds up, and it really does help keep the Gaming Gang around. All right, that is it for this time out. So as I always like to point out, if you like the video, by all means, give it a thumbs up. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't. And if you do subscribe, ring that little bell because it will let you know when I upload standalone videos, as well as inform you when the Daily Dope airs live Monday through Thursday nights right here on YouTube. And of course, as I have been saying during this time of pandemic, until I see you next, be smart, stay safe. Oh, you're still here. Well, if that's the case, by all means, subscribe to the Gaming Gang channel by clicking right here. And of course, if you want to catch up on past episodes of The Daily Dope, check out this playlist. And if you'd like to see what YouTube's recommending you take a peek at from the channel, just give a click right over here. Of course, I'm Jeff McAleer, and once again, thank you very much for watching.